Well, it's day 2 of this project. You can probably tell because I have a different color shirt on. You know, this is one of those projects that is just seemingly so simple that I really had to think long and hard whether I wanted to make a video out of it. But then I discovered, like a lot of simple projects, there's a lot more to it that I didn't think about. I wanted all the legs to splay out slightly to the side, so the problem I was having was how to drill those holes in exactly the same spot in each corner and get the exact same angle. So I actually ended up making a couple of test pieces out of a 2x4 kind of board. I spent literally a couple of hours on my drill press trying to set the angle of the table and then the forward angle, because there's 2 different angles to get those holes to go in, and then to set this at the exact same spot each time. And I really wasn't having luck with those holes. That's when I realized all I needed to do was just drill straight holes through here, and then the legs themselves I could just slightly bend. In this week's project, there was clearly one question that came up more often than any other. And a lot of those comments were from people who own big dogs, and obviously this is not the kind of project you want to have near big dogs. But I suspect people who own big dogs adapt a lot of things in their house to accommodate big dogs. I have a big cat. In fact, there she is right there. She's pleasantly plump, you might say. But this stand has been sitting here for 4 days now, right next to this area, which is where her litter box and her dining room is, and she hasn't knocked it over. Nor has anything else. No winds or earthquakes, it just pretty much stands there. Of course, by its very nature, it's not rock solid, but it certainly doesn't tip over. Do your best. So to answer your concerns, it's fine, but it leads to a bigger topic that I'd like to explore with you. Does everything we make need to be rock solid? There's an old adage that says form follows function. Well, I'm not so sure that's always true, nor if it's always good advice. Sometimes innovation begins with form. By starting with our imaginations, we're free to explore designs in ways that are less restrained from practicality. If we only begin a design from a functional standpoint, we limit ourselves to a strict set of parameters. Creatively, that can be stifling. So for this project, my goal was strictly artistic. How can I design a flower vase that is as delicate as a single flower? What can I design that places the flower at the center of attention, almost floating in space? First, there is almost no adornment on the wooden block beyond the simple aluminum inlay. The edges are left crisp and square. The wood is hard maple, which has a delicate, almost invisible grain pattern. I found this bud vase at a thrift store and chose it because of its gentle, tapered shape, which allowed me to drill a hole in such a way that none of the glass is visible above the block. The legs are 1/4-inch steel rods, 36 inches long, that I picked up at the hardware store, and I spray painted them silver. But I think, like any art piece, this one was somewhat controversial. And that's a good thing. Even though it's delicate, it's plenty sturdy to support the task it's given. Maybe the appearance of unsteadiness causes a bit of uncertainty in the viewer. That's a reaction I wouldn't have expected if I had started the design from a purely functional frame of mind. Personally, this is one of my most favorite designs and projects I've ever made. But I want to hear what you have to say down in the comments. Could I have achieved this if I had started with, say, a 2x4, thinking it has to withstand abuse? Should form always take a back seat to function? Simplicity is almost always more visually appealing than complexity, but for some reason it seems to be a human instinct to try to complicate things. What are some techniques we can use to help us achieve simplicity? Maybe we just need to start with the form and worry about function later. Some people, it's always funny when somebody walks by my driveway when I'm just talking and they just wonder, who is that guy talking to?